So my name is Kayla Hendra, and I'm here from Edmonton John Howard Society. Thank you for having me, and thank you for welcoming us to be here giving this today on Treaty 6 land. So I just wanted to start with a little bit about Edmonton John Howard Society, who we are, where we come from, and the work that we do. So we are rooted in the idea of community safety. And I know I'm here today to talk about community reintegration and what that looks like. And we see that broader than maybe the general person might see community reintegration. It's broader than reintegrating from an incarcerated individual into the community. We see it as a realm of what does justice plus look like. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that throughout my presentation today. But essentially who we are as an organization is we are on a mission to prevent crime and help people who are affected by crime. And we have a vision of safety and harmony in our community. Here are our core values. I won't go through them all, but essentially it really comes back to that idea of what is it like for individuals to live with all of the barriers that they may face day in and day out. All people deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, and that individuals all have the potential and opportunity for growth and change. And how can we as an organization work to help people move past some of the situations that they've had to be a part of. Here's a little bit about our history and background. So we opened in 1949 in Edmonton. We are a larger part, an affiliate of John Howard Alberta, and then John Howard Canada, and then there's John Howard International. But every John Howard operates a little bit differently. And so our organization started in 1949. There's a little bit on here about how small we are, just 2 or 3 people, providing those basic necessities. But essentially what we have been doing since 1949 is working on how to impact community safety within the city of Edmonton. We've tried different methods to do that. And so at this point, we have grown from those 2 to 3 person organization to a 200 person organization. And I'll go a little bit into what that looks like. So 70 years is a really long time. So we are at a point right now where we are, like other not-for-profits, other organizations, really taking a look at who we are, what kind of work we want to do, and how we can be intentional about that work. So there are a lot of great people in the city of Edmonton doing really impactful work. And so what we want to do is make sure we're intentional about the work we do. We're not doubling up on services, and we're really focusing in on what we do best and where we can have the biggest impact in that community safety realm. So there's 3 main objectives for us over the next 3 years. And those are going to be starting with our community services programs. And I'll talk a bit about what each of those are, but essentially ensuring that whether you are an Edmonton John Howard client in one of our residences or a community member who faces some of the barriers that our programs can work on, we're going to make sure that those services are offered to individuals that need them. And really focusing on the folks who need our residences to make sure that those offerings are embedded into the residences. So we're not the community services that happen out of our 100th Ave and 105th Street building, that those are accessible to all folks, and just making sure we're really catching those people with the biggest barriers. And then the second one's going to be building our team. In order to deliver really effective client care, we have to have a strong team that works on a work-life balance. But that's also very collaborative internally and both externally. So that's going to be a real focus for us. And then also just building our story. So how do we communicate who we are and the work that we do, which will include also lifting up our clients and figuring out a way that they can tell their story in a really meaningful way, and how they were able to overcome some of the challenges that they faced and how we can support them in that journey. The clients that we work with don't always have the prettiest stories. They're either incarcerated folks, folks who are moving out of other types of institutions, whether that be mental health or addiction, or living in a houselessness situation and moving out of that with our support. And so those stories can sometimes be really difficult to share, but we want to make sure we find a way to communicate that, because our clients are doing incredible work and the energy that they're investing in it needs to be heard by other people. So that's going to be a focus for us. So who we serve. When I talked about earlier about that Justice Plus, so as an organization, we're typically known for working with folks who are incarcerated or have been incarcerated and with criminal offenses, but we are bigger than that. And so but there is a focus there. So the focus is that Justice Plus. It's individuals who have interactions with the criminal justice system or the potential to have interactions with the criminal justice system, and we can either diverge around that or support them through that process. And so folks with really those multi-barriers and coming into those, what are the root causes of crime, and how we focus on that. So this is just a snapshot of what the root causes of crime are, but we know that crime does not just happen. Individuals are facing a ton of barriers, and so they're working at overcoming all of these things, and sometimes crime is just that's the option, that's the easiest or the safest, or honestly the hardest, because crime's not an easy option. And so just finding out how we can support people to address the root causes of crimes that fit within our programs and services. And so what that looks like. So we have kind of 4 main streams of services. The first one here is our community-based programs. So those are non-residential programs. And so we have adult support services that operates out of our 105th Street building. And that's a drop-in service that's offered to individuals on the street who have a multitude of barriers, but have some goals they want to work with. So really focusing on what that looks like, whether that's emotion management. We have some building foundation courses that folks can take part in, but really that goal base. So what do you want to do next? So stop in and have a coffee with us, but also let's make some goals and figure out how we move on to whatever your next step is. Shift is a new program that we will be starting in the next month. So that's going to be a youth outreach program that's offered to individuals who are 16 to 24 who have interactions or the potential for interactions with the criminal justice system, and just working with them through that. So that's going to be a 2-year program that we're opening. And then we have our Rap Ed program in partnership with REACH. And so that's working with folks who, using that wraparound approach and really navigating what it's like to move out of those systems. And then we also have our alternatives to detention. So that's our program that we do in partnership with CBSA and support individuals who are anticipated to be deported, and so that they aren't incarcerated while they await their deportation, and just offer that oversight, case management, and supervision while they await that. We also have a group of family violence programs. And so this is a spectrum that we offer within family violence, starting with our community outreach services. So those are an outreach program for individuals who are in family violence situations as the survivor or the victim, depending on the language that folks want to use. And they may have left or continue to live in the home. But this is a goal-based program where they work with individuals and just kind of suit their needs. Then we have a furniture program. So this is for individuals who have exited a home and need to be rehomed due to a family violence situation. And so in partnership with Find, what we do is they will get in touch with us, and as long as they need at least 3 furniture items up to housing a whole apartment, they'll connect with us. We will get a copy of their lease, and we'll just arrange for delivery of furniture to their new place on their move-in date. And then we also have the NALA Center. So this is one of our biggest programs in Edmonton John Howard. What it is, it's in partnership with Edmonton Police Service. And so anytime there is a charged intimate partner violence situation within the city of Edmonton, those referrals get sent to our NALA Center. And what we do is we connect with the complainant on those files, and we give them updates throughout the docket court stage of those appearances for the accused. So we are connecting with individuals, offering safety plans, but really finding out what they're hoping to get out of this situation. Intimate partner violence is very complex. And whenever that charge happens, what happens is there's no contact order between that accused and that complainant. So that's really hard if you share children, if you share a home, if you share finances, if you work together. And so what we can do is we bring that complainant's voice into the courtroom on that docket court stage. So if there's an opportunity to safely adjust conditions, we can support that and work with the Crown Prosecutor, the Defense Counsel, EPS, probation, and Children's Services. So domestic violence court meets 3 days a week in docket court. And from about 8:30 to 11:30 each of those mornings, we're in a case conference with the Crown Prosecutor and those other folks that I mentioned, talking about every file that's present in that courtroom that day and just seeing if there's any adjustments that can be made. Then we move into our DVCAP program, which is trial accompaniment. So if it's gone past the docket stage and they're entering a trial, what this program can do is work with the complainants on that just to support them, provide some court preparation as they receive a subpoena and prepare to testify in court, and then also accompany them to the court date. And then we also have our partner check program. So that's kind of that last stage. So individuals who are mandated to attend treatment at FACS, what our program does is we actually call the complainants on those files. We just see if they need anything. So the sentence has already happened. Now your partner or ex-partner is going through treatment. Do you have any questions about what that looks like? Do you know how to contact the probation officer if you have concerns? Okay, and then we have our court and correctional based programs. So we have I missed. On the bottom there's a QR code. So about 2 years ago, we developed an app, which is free and available to anyone who wants it. And if you scan that QR code, it'll download the app for you. And what it does is there's access to how to build a safety plan, resources within the city of Edmonton, and different options just for how you can navigate family violence supports. So the court and correctional based programs. So in the Edmonton Remand Center, we have a program that has one facilitator who 5 days a week, they provide programming to individuals who are incarcerated at the Remand Center that want to navigate some of those life experiences and prepare for release. So emotional support, what it looks like to be employed, financial, all of those things. So she has a curriculum that she'll go through with individuals. They can attend as many or as little times as they want. And she just alternates units every week. So she just kind of is on a bit of a cycle. That's one program so we have one facilitator, and in the last calendar year, we had almost 2,000 requests for information from individuals from the Remand Center of different support that they were looking, or just questions to be answered, like how do I apply for income support while I'm incarcerated, or how am I going to live my life post-incarceration if I can't have financial support. So there's a significant need for increased funding for that program, and we're doing the best we can. Then we have our Edmonton Drug Treatment Court, which works closely with PEP, that's coming up next. And so what this is an alternative to our incarceration. If individuals would like to have committed offenses due to drug use, and how they can work out of that through drug treatment court, it is an intensive case management and a lot of work. And so individuals will do intensive counseling, a ton of volunteer hours, typically attend treatment, and work really closely with our team there to navigate what that looks like, and attend court weekly to be held accountable for what they're, be held accountable to the program and the court to make sure they're doing what they need to do to remain out of incarceration. Then we have 7 residences. So we have, 6 residences and then 1 external housing program. But so we have 2 CBRFs. So those are community-based residential facilities, and those would typically be known as a halfway house. So those are folks who are serving federal time, who are able to be released on parole or a version of day parole. And so they will come and live at our locations under CSC. And we'll offer that supervision and work with CSC to have them in the community and support them as they navigate that reintegration from incarceration to the end of their warrant expiry. Then we have Journey Home, which is a not criminally responsible home. So that works with Alberta Health Services to allow 6 individuals the opportunity. They've been sentenced to not criminally responsible through the court system. And we are kind of at that tail end of their journey as they navigate what it looks like to be reintegrated to the community. And then we also have Donnelly House, which works with Alberta Health Services, and that's part of a harm reduction model that will work with individuals about 3 months as they move from a hospital setting, typically Alberta Hospital, but it could be anyone, into the community. And then our 2 youth residences are Nova and the Loft. And so Nova is really focused on harm reduction. A lot of multi-barriered individuals, and they can live there for 18 months. So we have 17 beds where they can live there for that long, and then 3 beds where it's a shelter program. And so we work really closely with YES. They can call, see if there's an open bed after 2 p.m. each day, and they can come and stay, and they can stay at that program up to 7 days each month, either in a row or sporadically, as long as there's openings. The Loft is kind of that next stage. So that's a 6-month program, and those are individuals who are prepared for that next stage of life. So they're typically going to be employed while they're with that program or attending full-time school. And so we're just that roof over their head, that calm presence in their life that can support them as they navigate houselessness into fully independent living. That program is really unique, where a lot of referrals actually will come from like general high schools. So we work closely with some of the high schools around the city for those folks who fall through the cracks and they need a little bit of support. There's those unstable homes, but they're not quite at the stage where they may access some of our shelter programs that we have in the city. So that's only a 6-bed program, but we're able to serve a large amount of youth in there. And then we have Youth Housing First. So this is kind of that last stage in our spectrum of youth services. And this is a program that works with Homeward Trust Edmonton. And what they do is they will take from that by names list that Homeward Trust has and serve individuals who are preparing for independence. They'll work with them for 9 months in a CTI approach. So those first 3 months, really intensive in connecting with individuals every week at least, if not more, and supporting with some of the rent payment. And then that second stage for the next 3 months is we take a little bit more hands-off approach. And so connecting a little less frequently and navigating what that looks like. Then those last 3 months are really just try your hand at independence and see if you need me. And so connect with me if you do, and we'll help you navigate what some of that looks like. I have a story, but it's 5:50. Should I pause? So when I was thinking about the idea of community reintegration and what that looks like, I'm actually going to take a story from our youth programs. And so we had an individual who was living at one of our programs at Nova and was highly involved with a criminal lifestyle. And so much so that it was actually no longer safe for him to live at YES. And so they called us and said, hey, we have this individual. Do you have a spot for him? So he connected with YES. He was able to move in. He was able to find an incredible, he took a little bit to get adjusted, but after about a year, he was able to find an incredible employment opportunity where he actually went away to work for a couple of weeks and then would come back and was being really successful. And so that was a great experience for him. And then what happened was we moved him out into his own apartment. He was living a great life. And then there was a break in his employment. So he actually ended up getting laid off. And then finances got really tight. He didn't come from a very stable home, and so that was really difficult to navigate. And so what he did was he connected back to NOVA, and they said, you know what, Jack, NOVA's not really what you need right now. There's not a ton of substance use happening. You know what to do. You know what you can do. You know what you're capable of. Let's see what it looks like for you at the Loft. So NOVA was able to connect Jack with the Loft, shorter term, really focusing on employment. They were able to work with him on what do you want to do next. Your previous employment probably will be unstable again in the future, and so are the other things you're interested in. So really working with him on that shorter timeline about what that looked like. And then it was really cool because he was ready, but he was still a little bit unsure. So then they were able to connect with him with Youth Housing First and move him out into his own apartment with the support of Youth Housing First and just give that extra little bit of care. He was nervous to move out on his own again. He was nervous that it wouldn't work out, and he didn't want that sense of it. So just offering that little bit of support to carry him over in that piece was an incredible opportunity for Jack. And he's not alone in that. We see that all the time through those programs. And so it's just really, we feel really lucky to have that spectrum of services and to be able to meet folks where they're at. Because you never know that one moment when that impact happens, and we see it all the time. We see it definitely in our CBRF homes, where if they just would have had that touch base at this other point in their life, what could it look like differently for them? So those youth programs really aid in that. And then if folks, what we do at John Howard is just really try to have an ability to be that, just a bit of a redirection for folks. And we're really lucky to have that broad range of services in order to touch the different aspects of their life. That's it.
Thank you.